Y esta es una reunión
of the City of Portland's Police Accountability Commission Subcommittee on Community Engagement Framework.
Entonces, esta es una reunión de la Comisión de Policía, el Subcomité de la Comunidad y el Marco.
So Maria, can you please give the information on the Spanish language interpretation?
Que para las personas que ocupan interpretación tendrían que ir al canal del intérprete, but I don't see the little globe here for the translation yet.
When you're finished with the reading, we'll be able to put it up.
Okay. Entonces, cuando yo termine de explicarles, va a salir un globo ahí para interpretación. Entonces, ustedes pueden escoger ahí si ocupan interpretación en español. Entonces, nos vamos a abrir el otro canal.
Thank you so very much. We also have Ruth, who is an interpreter. And the city also offers ASL interpretation, which is being provided by Amanda and Andrea. You can pin their video feed if that is helpful to you. Finally, the closed captioning is turned on in Zoom as another means of assistance. But please note that this is an automatic captioning service and it is not always accurate. The city supports access to meetings of the Police Accountability Commission and can provide other language support as well. Please email in advance of future public meetings, either as a response to public meeting notice or directly to policeaccountability@portlandoregon.gov to ask for other assistance, access to assistance, including interpretation into other languages. This meeting is a public meeting subject to the City of Portland Administrative Code and Oregon state law and is being recorded. For this meeting, the chat function is enabled for commission members to communicate with each other. Members of the public will be able to ask questions using Zoom's Q&A feature. As the commissioners are presenting and or discussing things, if attendees have questions, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A. We hope to use this feature to help guide our conversation during the meeting and future meetings around agenda topics. We'd like to be clear that not all questions will be answered during the meeting, but if answered, both the question and the answer will be visible to you and will become part of the meeting record. To access this feature, just click on the Q&A icon in the middle of your screen. Victoria, I would love for us to be able to put the slide deck up.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let me get it.
Thank you. So as you do that, I'll say that this is the first meeting of the subcommittee of the Community Engagement Framework. This committee is tasked with developing a community engagement system for the Police Accountability Commission and will meet 2 to 3 times during the organizational phase of the PAC's work, the Police Accountability Commission's work. The organizational phase will also include 2 to 3 meetings of the full commission. The first of which is next Thursday, January 27th. Finally, the Subcommittee on Bylaws and Internal Processes has met twice and will meet 1 to 2 more times during the organizational phase, which goes through March 22nd. So here's our accountability timeline. As you can see, the convenings began in December, and the whole entire process goes through to 2023. On the next slide, you'll see that we have specific meetings. January 20th is today, our first meeting of the Subcommittee on Community Engagement. Then the following next Thursday is the third meeting of the entire full commission. And that meeting's focus will be values and principles and agenda setting and scoping. Then we'll have February meetings, of which the Subcommittee on the Bylaws and Internal Processes will meet for the third time. This committee, the Community Engagement Committee, will meet for the second time, and then the full commission will also meet. So you can find this information on the website. So after this, the commission will be working through its agenda, which is what's being developed from now through March. You can learn about the commission at www.portland.gov/police-accountability. So if we can go to the next slide, Victoria. During today's meeting, we'll have introductions of the subcommittee members as well as us as facilitators. And then we'll move into a discussion about community engagement and how it relates to the Police Accountability Commission. We will discuss the Charter Review Commission's community engagement framework and use that as a basis for our conversation and see how to adapt the PAC, adapt that to the Police Accountability Commission and its work. We'll also take volunteers for drafting groups to work on sections of the community engagement framework from now until the next meeting of the subcommittee. Finally, we'll discuss public comment as part of the communications with and from the public. So I would love brief introductions, if we don't mind. I'm going to call on each person to step into the room, take 2 minutes, and please introduce yourself. But first, I'm going to call on Dan because he has his hands raised.
Hello, I'm Dan Handelman. I'm a member of the commission. I'm a member of the subcommittee. I'm also with the group Portland Cop Watch. I use he, him pronouns. But most of the groups that I'm in, the first thing we do when the agenda is presented is reaffirm the agenda. And I have concerns that the discussion about public comment is put at the end of this. And several members of the commission have been anxious to involve the community. There's 11 people out in the audience tonight in public comment. So I'm hoping we can move that up higher on the agenda and not push it off till the end. And thank you for calling on me.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. I am going to follow what the agenda says because it is a public document. And so at least for this meeting, we're going to plow ahead in the way the agenda is presented. So Connie, I would love for you to step into the room and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Connie Wan. I use she, her pronouns. I am a member of the committee and this subcommittee. I'm happy to be here. I think it's very important to provide this space and service and time to this very important subject that we are here to discuss and hopefully oversee and create stronger communication and relationship for our community.
Thank you, Connie. Can you please give us your affiliation? You're on mute.
Yes, my like general affiliation or
Professional affiliation. Like,
okay. Yeah. I'm like a self-employed event producer.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Yes, we can take the slides down at the moment. That's a wonderful suggestion, Dan. Thank you very much. Jason, would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Jason Renault. I'm on the subcommittee. I'm also a member of the commission. I'm a mental health advocate. I agree with Dan that the agenda should be addressed and put public comment up further. And it is a public document, but of course that the purpose of our work here is we can change that. So I would endorse Dan's suggestion.
Thank you very much. Monica, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am Monica Arce. I use she, her pronouns. I am a member of the committee. I'm a member of the subcommittee. I'm the co-chair of the subcommittee. And I work as a midwife in a community health center. I am bilingual, bicultural, Peruvian raised, American adult life. And here I am. I think this work is very, very important. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Welcome in. Charlie.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. I'm Charlie Michelle Wesley, she, her pronouns. I'm a member of the committee and the subcommittee. I am a tribal member of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. I work with women in addiction and mental health recovery, extensive life experience involved with police brutality as a witness, a victim, and a target. Not just myself, but family and other acquaintances and friends. That's what I bring to the table.
Thank you so much for being here this evening. Faith, may I welcome you in?
Thanks, Christine. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Faith Aiken. I am a member of the commission and co-chairing with Monica this subcommittee for the planning phase. And I come with a background as an analyst. I develop performance metrics, particularly around racial equity at Prosper Portland. And I'm here as a disability advocate and someone who's really wanting to make sure that we capture the opinions and voices of folks who are normally not captured in these sorts of processes. So that's how I'm coming today.
Thank you so much. May, welcome in.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is May Se Chow. I am a part of the regular commission and a committee member. I bring to the table the voices of immigrant refugees in the API community, specifically in the Southeast Asian community. I come from a background of a community who is indigenous in the API community. The Southeast Asian community often is overshadowed by the model minority myth. We often don't take spaces in places such as this with really not much representation as well. And so I'm here speaking up for those voices. And I have a professional background in public safety.
Thank you so much, May. So appreciate it. Victoria, would love to bring your voice in.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's for me an honor to be among you. And I'm an immigrant from Mexico. I have my business and we specialize in communication and also on community engagement. and equity training. And I came as a facilitator, but also we all bring our stories, even if we don't tell them. And as a immigrant from Latin America that has and bring the insecurity of families with a mixed status, where we have and it's affected all of us as undocumented immigrants, but as members of our families. And I'm here to support Christine tonight and to support all of you. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Victoria. Dan, is there anything else that you want to speak into the room as part of your introduction?
Oh, wow, I'd like to get to work. That's my other thing I'd like to say.
Thank you. I am Christine Moses, CEO of Buffalo Cloud Consulting. It is a diversity, equity, and inclusion company. I work a lot in community engagement and teaching and engaging, consulting, and training in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so it's a real honor and pleasure to be here this evening. So in honor of what Dan and Jason have requested, I'm going to ask that Faith and May speak to, do you want to change the agenda? Do you want to change the order of things that we're going to talk about this evening? Or do you want to keep it? It's up to you.
I think you mean Faith and Monica.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes.
No, you're fine. I am confident that we can get through the full agenda today. And if it assuages some concern to move it up, I'm okay with that, if the rest of the commission is.
I think I would feel good with that as well. Yeah.
Okay, and thumbs up from Charlie, and then May, do you feel okay with that?
Well, not being in a similar situation like this, I'm not sure what that even looks like. Like, is that going to be like every time someone asks a question, are we going to stop and answer that question, or how's that going to work?
I'm your facilitator, so I'm trying to give your committee chairs the ability to set the agenda for this evening, if they want to change it or if they want to keep it as is. Everybody will have a voice around particular topics when they get raised, and I will be doing the calling on people.
So the public, these are questions from the public, correct? That we're talking about right now?
Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie, that is understandably confusing. What is on the agenda is the proposal to discuss how we will involve public comment. So it's not moving public comment to the front, it's recommendations on how, as a commission, we want to do public comment moving forward.
Got it. Okay.
Connie, did you have your hand up for a question?
No, I was just sort of agreeing with Faith and Monica's interpretation or suggestion.
Okay, so we're going to have the conversation about public comment now. Okay, sounds good. So I do want to ask the question, what is the purpose of public comment? What does the committee see as the purpose for public comment? Yes. Police Accountability Commission.
Hi, this is sorry, some staff support here. I just wanted to quickly, before we get into the discussion, just take the opportunity to remind the group about the community standards and agreements on how we do discussions. So I'm not sure if Victoria could share the screen and go to the slides just before everyone gets into that particular topic.
Thank you so much.
It would be slides.
8 and 9, I believe.
Yeah, 9 and
Yes.
then 9 and 11, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I will be glad to read this. I would like to read this. So your agreements are keeping the needs and concerns of the local community and the larger region at the forefront of the work. Keeping focus on the objectives of the meetings and individual agenda items. Utilize the facilitators to note additional topics for discussion. Arrive on time and prepared to the best of your ability. Let the group know if you're unable to attend a meeting. Keep multitasking to a minimum. Contribute to the overall success of the group by finding ways to participate that best meets your needs. Treat each other with respect and be supportive of each other. Keep in mind that everyone has their own truth. Listen without agenda and refrain from interpretations. Be polite, courteous, and thoughtful. Assuming good intent from our colleagues and collaborators, challenge ideas rather than individuals. Approach different opinions with curiosity and seek to understand. Use I statements. Affirm other speakers. Do not use violent words. Instead, say something positive about the previous speaker and simply add your own thoughts. Respect privacy. Everything shared in confidence needs to be kept in confidence, and honor the decisions of the group. May I have a thumbs up from each participant agreeing with these agreements? Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Next slide, please. Discussions, the next slide after that. So be brief. Anyone can speak multiple times, but just make it about a minute if you can, each time you speak. Be facilitated. Let me please step in and call on people. I'll be watching and making sure that hands are raised and that I try and do this in order. And be constructive. Look forward and discuss how to make the subcommittee's work most successful in the future on each of the questions. Do we agree to these? Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to start off with the purpose of public comment. So I would love to have that conversation. And I will start with Dan's, since his hand is up first.
Oh, thank you. You asked what is the commission's view about the purpose. I'm going to express my view, and I hope that everybody else will express their view too. And I think maybe later on in the agenda, we can talk a little bit more about how somebody speaks for the commission or not. But for me, the purpose of public input is to get points of view that we don't necessarily have. We're a very diverse group. There's 20 of us, and I think that's great, but we can't think of everything. I have been in numerous meetings of not only committees that do work kind of like ours, but of city council, where somebody will say, how come the first time I ever heard about this is when Portland Cop Watch raised it in public comment? And so I really feel like having public comment can help inform our work and make us a better and stronger commission. We are going to discuss other ways to get community input. Not everybody can come to the meetings. I appreciate that. Not everybody's willing to speak up at a meeting. I appreciate that. But I just want to make sure that we have at least a tentative agreement on how to listen to the members of the public who've been attending these meetings and who have been unable to talk to us, so that we can perhaps even take public comment tonight at our subcommittee meeting and then present this proposal to the full commission and take public comments moving forward. And so that's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other thoughts on the purpose of public comment? Charlie, and then Monica.
Hi, yes, I just think for far too long, decisions have been made by other people for us instead of allowing us to be a part of that decision making. And this whole commission is about to serve our community, and we absolutely need their input. This is for them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Monica.
I would like to come up with ways that include people that don't usually have the ability to participate. I was thinking of, people that don't read, don't write, people that don't have access to computers and don't know how to fill out a form online. And so, I think our purpose should be to decrease the barriers so that we can get more input. I agree that we cannot come up with every idea, even though we are a diverse group. I think we should still, make it easy for people to give input.
Thank you so much. Faith, and then May.
Yeah, purpose-wise, echoing what others have said, but recognizing that giving public comment is a really intimidating thing for folks who have not practiced doing that or may not be used to these formats. So I guess for me, the purpose ultimately is to hear those opinions and perspectives, but also that we can make it as accessible and welcoming is not the right word, but for a lot of folks, we'd like to hear from people who've never given public comment before. So how do we strategize about including some of those folks?
Thank you. May.
I just want to reiterate really what Monica and Faith says, especially coming from a community that doesn't really have much opportunity in such public spaces. I think we really owe it to others to be more innovative about how we are approaching the community, how we are involving them, and how inclusive we are. I hear far too much about, well, the resources are available. Yeah, resources are available, but it's not really accessible to everyone. And the people that don't have access are the ones who are most vulnerable and that do need to be able to engage with us.
Thank you. Any other thoughts around the purpose of public comment? Public comment is different than public engagement or community engagement. The whole community engagement framework has multiple stages and multiple parts and multiple methodologies. And so we were talking about I'm guessing from your committee, one small part of this as part of being community, of being public comment. So we have an idea of that we want to listen to the community. We want it to serve the community. We want people to be able to participate and lower the barriers of public comment participation, hear people's opinions because it can be an intimidating thing, and then to be innovative. That's what I heard around the use of public comment, the purpose of it. Does that sound right? Does that feel
Yes.
good? Okay, so then there's different types of public comment. Who has experienced public comment? What have you experienced? Either giving or receiving public comment. I'm gonna go May and then Dan and then Faye.
I would love for a way to be able to allow those that are not literate, who don't have access to internet, who don't speak the language, all of that. So it just goes back to what I was saying about being more innovative and inclusive, intentional with our work. Because it shouldn't belong to just people who have the time to show up at these meetings, who have access to internet, that can read and that can write.
Mhm. Very good, thank you. Dan.
Okay, so I'm in complete agreement with what people said. I believe I expressed similar ideas in my opening response to what's the purpose of public comment, that we should try to engage people who can't make it to meetings or don't like speaking up at meetings. I don't think we need to wait till we have a plan to do all that to come up with a way to let the people who are at the meetings speak, because I don't think it should be exclusive that because we don't have a plan for everything, that we don't have a plan to listen to people at the meetings. So that's my goal of this discussion tonight is, as I said, I want to come up with a plan for what to do about the people who are here and want to engage with us as a piece of what's going to be a larger framework that we're going to come up with later.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Faith?
Yeah, so to your question, I've given public comment and I've been a part of the city to hear public comment. And I think that it's often folks who feel like they need to be an expert on the issue to feel comfortable giving public comment or feeling respected, or folks who've done it before. So I think to May's point, even for us to be members of the commission, we had to apply, we had to have access to a computer, we had to have access to Zoom. We have to work in English, and we're working through documents as well. So there are just so many barriers, and I know we're not totally addressing the community engagement framework in this, but public comment is often the place where I think opinions are heard the loudest. And it feels really important, to your point, Dan, of how do we make this decision quickly and also with the least amount of barriers possible. So, yeah.
That's a great question. Victoria, I was going to call on you. I was going to bring your voice into this.
Yes, I will say my everything that have been shared is great. And also when I have shared public comment, I have tell a part of my story. And usually people connect to stories, not to institutions or rules or guidelines. We connect through stories and see that we are human beings. It's part of who we are. And our stories also convey our values and what we express. And that's why public comment is so important, because at the end, in a way, public comments builds a community through our stories and what we share.
Thank you so much. So, I would like to see a thumbs up around the idea of public comment, that you would like to have public comment at your meetings, at subcommittee meetings, and at the full commission. Is that this committee's recommendation? I see Jason, Connie, yep. Maria, Faith.
He's not on visual.
I'm sorry?
A isn't on visual, so she has to find some way to give a thumbs up.
She did, she wrote it in chat. She wrote it in chat, yeah. Thank you. Dan, is that a thumbs up from you too? Yes, okay, very good. All right, Charlie, I didn't see you. Yes, thank you. Okay, so we do have consensus that we want public comment both here at the subcommittee and at the commission level. I'm going to bring in my personal experience that I worked at a school district, and public comment could be at the beginning or the end of a meeting, but the board members were not allowed to speak back and have a conversation with the public commenter. I'm wondering how you would want to run your public comments. Do commissioners speak back, or is it just taking in information? Faith.
I'm used to public comment coming at the end. And so even that suggestion of it happening in the beginning is interesting to me, or even in the middle to ensure that it happens. I think oftentimes commission meetings or public meetings run long. So if we could make public comment in the beginning, or maybe in the middle, I'm just thinking this out. Obviously, I'm thinking out loud. So format wise, that would be my recommendation. And then in response, I don't think we're quite at the phase yet where public comment requires commissioners to respond. I think I imagine it being a lot of listening on perspective and how we'd want to address that. So I don't know that I feel strongly that it's a no respond kind of rule.
Okay, thank you. Monica?
I think that public comment has worked well at the end of a meeting as long as there's enough time for it. When we have put public comment at the end, if we run too late on the agenda, the public comment always is the last thing, is the first thing to be cut off, right? Because it's like the last thing that happens. So if we were able to keep our agendas on time and be mindful that we need to give a certain amount of time to public comment, I think that would work. I also want a way for public comment to happen outside of these meetings. And I think that's really important. I don't want public comment to just come from people that are aware of our meetings and can come to our meetings and, you know, this schedule works for them. I think we should come up with a way of like having a recorded line or some form of way for people to be able to leave messages for us commissioners to listen to in whatever language they may leave it as, right? Like if I have if I know of somebody who speaks Quiche and wants to leave their message in Quiche, then let's do it, right? And then we can find an interpreter to interpret that for us.
Beautiful, Monica. Thank you so much for that. Staff.
Hi, so sorry to interrupt here. Just wanted to flag a couple items here because I know that as we seem to be going towards a decision on it, normally we have had decision documents to lay out potential courses of action for the commission or for the subcommittees, and we don't have that today. So I just wanted to mention that. In talking to the co-chairs prior to this meeting, there was a desire to create something like that based on the conversation today to present to the full commission when this subcommittee does give that. If it's okay with everyone, I'd like to share the screen to show what that was going to look like. Again, this was not something that was sent out in advance because it was not designed to be voted on today originally. So I just want to make that clear to everyone and why you have not received it, but instead to indicate that there was documentation and context being prepared for the full commission to look at. And it might be helpful for this meeting as well. Is that okay with everyone to share the screen and show what that was like? because there are a couple decision points that need to get hammered out in terms of coming up with that plan. Okay. Okay, so just wanted to, sorry about that. To flag that they're in light of a couple things. The normal framework for these decision documents, and you may have seen these on the December 18th one meeting. For those who maybe have looked at that, members or members of the public, you may have seen it. There's context, which is facts or things that we're required to do. So there's known PAC views, which is essentially if members have brought this up in individual comments, the staff led a series of one-on-one conversations in October, and we're doing those every few months. There's previous votes on it, if anything had been, any decisions have been made on it, and then there's the actual agreement, as well as some information to be given to the group just to understand whether the decision can be reversible or not. I think a few folks asked in previous meetings about that. So with in mind that folks brought up multiple methods of public comment, written public comment was the first part of this. And it includes the fact that the City Council did mandate that the Police Accountability Commission seek out not only testimony, but also input. That's not explicitly public comment, but that's there, that the Charter Review Commission does it, and that a web form is a possibility. That's what the Charter Review Commission does, but not the only one. And there have been concerns raised that folks who may not have stable internet connections or things like that might have difficulty submitting through a web form. And that might disproportionately affect the same people who are disproportionately affected by policing. No, we haven't discussed it yet, and no one has brought really anything up in opposition to written public comment. So this was the items that were going to be presented to accept it via web form or email. The city has not yet provided a postal mailbox. So as soon as that would happen, that could be accepted. And that comments would be included into the meeting records for the meeting and posted on the page for the meeting, so that if public comment was submitted for a meeting held today, January 20th, and when you look at the January 20th event page, it would be on that. And then secondly, that would be about the commission members being asked to read the public comment. If we're going to collect it, that there would be an agreement that the commission members could reach about setting themselves a requirement to read it as long as they had enough time in advance to do so. And so coming up with what that time frame was, and these three highlighted portions would be the decision points on the question of written public comment. Might it make sense to pause here before moving on to the verbal, or would you prefer to hear about the verbal side of it too, which is the second page? There's only 2 pages. Would Faith or Monica like to, or both, like to kind of weigh in on how you'd like the information presented?
Yeah, I'm ready to, let's hear page 2.
Okay. The second part would be on the verbal side. So the first context here is the same. Similarly, a recognition that this is not itself everything there is, that there's meeting times that may not be conducive to everyone to come on and give it, but that giving it is a part of it. A part of a public comment plan might include coming in and doing it during meetings, of course. And then that the Charter Review Commission does take public comment during several, but not all of their meetings. This one, there were different viewpoints expressed in one-on-ones and elsewhere. This was something that got brought up by several, I'd say 7 or 8 members of the commission, some of whom are not on this subcommittee and some are. So noting that there's some disagreement there on whether to have it in which meetings or not, but that everyone agreed on having it prior to major commission decisions, that it's not been discussed before. And then similarly to synthesized, the things presented as potential agreements are synthesized from commission members' comments. They're not come up with through any other manner. They're what commission members have said, synthesized. And so 3 different items here: an amount of time per person, an amount of time for the overall length of time of public comment at a meeting, and then noting that that time would be on the agenda. And then in recognition of, I believe it was May, who said that often conversations go just a few moments ago, go late, and then public comment gets cut off, saying that it would be protected. So if there's 15 minutes for public comment, then the last 15 minutes of the meeting would be held and all other conversation would be cut off in that scenario. So again, this is not necessarily something that was prepared to be voted on today. It was something that was in process to be presented to the full commission on the 27th, which is the full commission meeting. But I wanted to lay that out here so you all knew what was going on.
So Samir, to clarify kind of that final point, is what we're doing now is making recommendations on what this subcommittee would suggest be the agreements of how we would handle public comment, to then agree upon it as a full commission next week. That's where we're at, right?
If that's where you're at, yes.
Okay. So I guess maybe that's a question for the full commission, that as it's laid out now, we can make some recommendations to these highlighted pieces, elements of how we will do public comment, to then bring to the full commission next Thursday to reach agreement. We good, commissioners?
That's what I understand. This is Monica.
Yes, I agree. It does not acknowledge response though. So I don't know if we need to add that or not.
Yeah, that's definitely something that could be added. It's up to you how you want to adapt or change this prior to the meeting at Faith, and Monica will be presenting it to the full commission next week as part of their update. So anytime from now till then.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Dan?
Hi, so a couple of comments showed up in the Q&A that it's very hard to follow that in the chat, but essentially, if you go to a city council meeting, it is a series of decisions that they have to make because they have about 20 or 30 items sometimes on their agenda, and usually you're called on as a community member if you sign up ahead of time to speak on a specific item. You have a limited time, usually it's 1 to 3 minutes, and then the decision gets made. And often we get what I call the city council stare, where the city council doesn't even say anything to you. I think it would be nice if we decide collectively that somebody's going to say thank you for your input. You don't have to like have a discussion or go back. I think we should be able to ask clarifying questions if something comes up that's important to somebody in the group. Like if any one commissioner says, I'd like a clarifying question, turn to the chair, and the chair can say, can you answer that? But other than that, I really think we should, we have a very limited time to talk when there are 20 of us. We're not going to get a lot done if the entire meeting is made up of public comment. So I want to find that balance, but I also don't know from a practical or financial standpoint, or even from other members of the commission, how people feel about, well, if we are running up towards the end of the clock and we promise people public input, can we find a way to stay late to make sure that the public gets a few minutes, however many minutes we promised on the agenda, to do the public input? And cut it off at the time we said, but just make sure that that happens to show that we value it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Faith, and then Jason.
Yep, I agree with those points. I think one of my suggested recommendations, I don't know how to do this equitably, but I'm aware that 90 seconds for a English speaker is robust to get a point across, but for someone who may have communication challenges or English as a second language, 90 seconds is really quick. So I am wanting to, how can we create accommodations around those 90 seconds for people to participate without giving every single person 3 minutes or 5 minutes? So especially Connie and May, your thoughts, or May especially, around how we can create a 90-second what sort of accommodations we can give for folks who English is not their first language or may not communicate primarily through spoken word.
May?
Just ask them if they need extra time, more than 90 seconds, and give them that ability to let us know whether they need that accommodation or not.
I second that.
Okay. Thank you. Jason?
I would oppose firm limits on questions from the commission to a speaker or time limits at this point. We should leave a great deal of leniency in the hand of the chair to determine what's needed at the time. It's impossible to predict what we will need. Things haven't happened yet. So we should leave this open at this point and trust our chairs to know how to run a meeting.
Thank you. There's also opportunities for listening sessions. If you wanted to create listening sessions, you know, outside of your meetings in order to enable all sorts of people to be able to bring their voices into the process. So I'm just, I'm giving that also as a potential for part of the engagement plan. Monica?
That's what I was going to go to, that we could, as a group, you know, set certain dates or certain times where our agenda is to listen to whoever comes to have something to say to us, and maybe not have any time limits at that point at all, because some people really have a hard time synthesizing. You know, giving public comment is very intimidating for somebody that may have some trauma or some, you know, issues. It may not be something easy to do in 90 seconds.
Beautiful. I am going to call on Victoria, and then I'm going to give us a break until 5 after.
Yeah, I was gonna share how we do public comment for people that doesn't speak English, because the rules don't bend for others, like at the state or others, they 1 minute or 90 seconds or 3 minutes. While we assign somebody that it takes and listen to the people that doesn't speak English or have trouble speaking English clearly. And then that person is bilingual or is multilingual, and then they write the comments. We let people know that somebody was gonna take notes, and they write it in a way that either this person can read it, helps to compose the comment, that way is in that time, or translate that and give the comment by writing. Because a lot of groups that don't give you like, oh, you're gonna have more time or not. There's assign a person or a couple of people that's listening to the comments, writing and making sure the comments are in the same time frame and it makes sense. And then they work together to present that comment. That's how we do it, social justice and other ways.
Thank you so much, Victoria. That's wonderful. It's so nice to hear that there's other ways of doing it than just, you know, having to show up one particular way. So I'm hoping that before we take our break, I would like to know what Faith and Monica are going to be doing at the full meeting on the 27th.
Great question. What I would love is to take the break and have a minute to kind of synthesize what we've just heard and then bring it back to the commission after the break. And then Dan, I saw that you wanted to suggest something. Or Monica, does that sound okay to you?
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. And then,
Okay.
And thank you, Co-Chair Aiken. And what I was going to suggest is not only synthesize what we've heard, but then imagine if we were going to try an experiment tonight with the audience we have, how much time might we set aside at the end of this meeting, and how do we divide it up among the people who might want to give public input, and then come back with that as a suggestion when we come back. So maybe we can even try something, and that way we'll might be better informed when we are talking to the full commission.
So we'll come back at 5 after, Faith, and then we'll keep moving forward. Thank you.